You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. By going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, you can make this possible. Now let's talk about, of course, we always talked about crazy racist cops on this show. Well, guess what? The organization decided to do an extensive look into what these cops are saying on Facebook. A review of the Facebook accounts of thousands of police officers around the country found them endorsing violence against Muslims, women, and criminal defendants. Here's one example. F these Muslim turd goat humpers. Wow. Oh, but we must help them. Yeah, right, when it's okay to rape and murder in a religion. I ain't helping no one. That's, of course, the page there of that particular woman right there. Now, the review was done by the Plan View Project. It was launched by our guest, Philadelphia attorney Emily Baker White. She joins us right now. So, Emily, glad to have you on the show. So, how did this thing originate? Where did the idea come from to say, let's dig a little deeper?
Thank you for having me on the show. So, I first came across troubling content on Facebook posted by police officers when I was an attorney at the Federal Defender's Office in Philadelphia in the Capital Habeas Unit. I was representing individuals on death row who were contesting the validity of their convictions. I was assigned to one case in which I was asked to look into a potential police brutality claim in that case, that there was a lot of police brutality in a given neighborhood that might have affected the outcome of the case. So in doing that, I came across several pages on Facebook that were apparently maintained by police departments in that neighborhood and that had completely public-facing posts on them. I think if there was one post that really spurred me to look deeper, it was a meme that showed a police dog that was being restrained by an officer. The police dog was baring its teeth, and the caption over the picture was, "I hope you run, he likes fast food." I was alarmed by this image. And it was a meme. The officer presumably hadn't made it himself. He got it from somewhere. And what that made me say was, how prevalent is this? How much of this is there on the internet? And that was the question that led me to create the Plainview Project.
So how did you begin the research to begin to assemble all of this? And how many police officers did you eventually compile data on?
So the first thing we did was identify. Our plan was to do a sort of deep dive into the departments, into a few departments, right? You can't look at everybody. You can't look at everything.
Right.
We looked at Facebook. You could look at Twitter. You could look at Instagram. But we decided we were going to look at Facebook. We were going to look at a few departments, and we were going to try to find as much information as we could in those departments. So we picked 8 jurisdictions across the United States, some big, some small. The largest was Philadelphia, where I lived at the time. But we also looked in Dallas and Phoenix and St. Louis, among other smaller jurisdictions. And we picked those cities. We obtained the public rosters of all the police officers in each of those places. That's a matter of public record. You can get the lists of police officers in each city. In fact, often it's posted on, we got the Philly ones from the Philly Inquirer. We got, I think, the Dallas ones from a newspaper down there. So we got a list of all the officers in these jurisdictions. Then we went and tried to find Facebook pages that apparently matched those names. Now, there are a lot of people with every name on Facebook. It doesn't matter how uncommon your name is, there are a lot of people with that name on Facebook. So obviously we needed more. We needed something that showed that a person was a law enforcement officer in a certain jurisdiction. And so the most common way that we found that verification was that the person posted police officer at Phoenix Police Department or at Dallas Police Department. And many people do list the police department as their employer. And that was the most common verification that we found. But also there were a lot of people who posted pictures of themselves in uniform, or were having a conversation and said, you know, I've been a, you know, Phoenix cop for 5 years, and in my experience, blah, 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 right? So we had to get some affirmative ID from a person saying, I am a police officer in this jurisdiction. We built a list of those people, and then we reviewed all of the public posts that each of those people had made.
Well, what I love about this is, first of all, they can't lie and say it wasn't me. That's the one thing I love about it. And also what it does is exposes them in their own words. Now, you put this out there. What's the next step? Are you asking the departments to take action against them?
So departments are still responding to this information, but the responses that we've gotten from officials in Philadelphia so far have been really good. The Philadelphia Commissioner Ross, among other things, what part of his statement was the line, I don't understand why there's still so much hate in this country today. And that's coming from the Philly police chief, looking at some of the words of his own officers. And when I hear him say that, I believe him, and I think he's taking this problem really seriously.
Well, first of all, it is an amazing job y'all did. Are any plans, and you focused on 8 jurisdictions, last question for you, are you planning on targeting more jurisdictions?
Not at this moment, but I wouldn't rule anything out.
All right, then we surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Where can people see your full report? Where can they go?
Plainviewproject.org.
Plainviewproject.org. All right, we appreciate it. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you very much.
Joseph, this is, first of all, it's an amazing thing that they did. And what it does is, for all the people who talk about the bad apples.
There's like a whole barrel full of them. I mean, and the thing that kind of drives me crazy about this is, like, number one, this is only 8 jurisdictions, I think she said, like a handful.
8.
This is the tip of the iceberg, right? This is the tip of the iceberg. We don't know how many more cops are out there who are doing sorts of things. Secondly, it folds back into the first story, which is how these guys got convicted in the Central Park 5 in the first place. There was groupthink. There were people who see black men, who see black boys as animals and suspects. This is where it comes from. This is where cops were so willing to believe that 5 guys, 14, 15, 13, who didn't even know each other, were guilty of a crime, and why the prosecutors just pushed and pushed and pushed until they got a conviction. It all ties in together, and it's something that's going to be incredibly hard to eradicate.
And the thing, Avis, is that, again, these are individuals who are dumb enough to say it.
Yeah, I mean, I think what to me is most telling about this is it shows how rotten this culture is to its core, that they would feel comfortable enough to just put this out there in public. Okay, just put it all out there. Anybody could see it. And they saw no repercussions would come from it. And so they felt comfortable doing it. And I also am not as quite comforted by the Philadelphia police chief's words as the author of this report was, because quite frankly, he should have known.
Yeah.
Well, words are one thing, but now what do you do next?
Yeah. I mean,
that's what's key.
Absolutely. And you know the culture of your organization, and if you don't, that's a problem. But he knows. Come on now. He knows.
Eugene? Well, actually, you know what? No, I would dare say, Eugene, folks may not know because they don't properly monitor. And that's the problem I have. And I think what they've exposed is, how in the hell are you not keeping tabs on your own cops? Again, you're sworn to protect and uphold the law, as opposed to beat people, to denigrate people, and say, I'm not going to represent you.
Yeah, I mean, I think there should be special scrutiny when it comes to police officers and law enforcement. I think the next step absolutely probably should be is that you take that 8, you gather the resource to cover 100, 200, 300, maybe 1,000, and then probably expand to the full 4,000 departments that we know about. And then from there, this database has to be searchable. It has to be as accessible for your common defense attorney who has a client that's been brutally abused by the police to be able to run those officers' names and say, boom, here we go. These people have they have the bias and they put it on display. One of the former Baltimore City Central Committee chairman and here he was a lawyer, defense attorney, and he kept the list of corrupt cops and bad cops in his office. And when he would get a client, he would just go back and see who was the arresting officer and match up to that list. And if he matched up to that list, it would just be open shut case for him. And I think that's what you'll probably start seeing if we were to turn this into an actionable, searchable database.
All right,
You
folks.
can't, and real quickly, you can't get hired for a job unless somebody checks your social media, right?
Yeah.
My company has a social media policy. You should not be able to get hired as a police officer unless they check your social media and find out that it's all on the square.
Kind of basic.
Simple.
Yeah.
Kind of basic.
Costs nothing.
All right,
All right,
folks.
folks, back to that Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
All right, folks, they're back. MarijuanaStock.org has another great investment opportunity. If you were lucky enough to invest in their last crowdfunding campaign, you know they raised a lot of money in just a few months investing in legal marijuana farms. Those initial investors now own shares of a publicly traded company. They're on fire, folks, and last time you may have missed out. You don't want to miss out this time. Now they have a new investment opportunity that is as good, if not even better, than the last. I'm talking about industrial hemp CBD. Now, for those who don't know, the hemp plant is the cousin to marijuana with a much higher concentration of CBD, which means hemp CBD gives you all of the medical benefits of marijuana without getting you high. Now, until recently, hemp farming was practically illegal in the U.S. and heavily regulated by the DEA. However, the 2018 Farm Bill Congress passed, making it legal to grow hemp CBD in the U.S., is creating one of the largest commodities worldwide. They need land to grow all of the plants. This makes for an incredible investment opportunity, and that's where our good friends at 420 Real Estate come in. Their business model is very simple. They buy land that supports hemp CBD grow operations and lease it to licensed, high-paying tenants. That's right, they are hemp CBD landlords, and you can get in on the action. You can invest in the crowdfunding campaign for as little as $200 up to $10,000. You may not want to miss out on this one, folks. All you got to do to invest is go to marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org. You can get in the game, and you should do it now.
Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.